know what his thinking was. But he convinced them that there's no need to live anymore. And they all committed suicide. They all put poison and drank it. So it's this mass suicide. So this was a big thing at that time. So any movement that looked like a cult, people just didn't want anything to do with it. Because their concept of a cult was brainwash mass suicides. Huge obstacle for us in spreading Krishna consciousness for years. Devotees were kidnapped. My wife was kidnapped. The parents would arrange for them to be kidnapped. Her spiritual master was kidnapped. Any of you been kidnapped? The parents kidnapping and brainwashing the children. The idea was to reprogram the children, the brainwashed children. And they'd pay a lot of money. And they'd actually pick up the devotee and take the devotee away to some hotel and then just blaspheme Prabhupada. And say this is a cult and very heavy. So this was, what we were going through to spread Krishna consciousness. So it's never easy. Anyway, we can take it as Bhaktivinoda Thakur's mercy that Krishna has given us challenges to face in spreading Krishna consciousness. And we can relish these challenges and obstacles because it's service. And we can get inspiration from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, anybody want to say anything about Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Oh yeah, oh, the different side. Yeah, he was. Any empowered preacher, Acharya, will expose anything which is bogus. So there are many bogus sampradayas. They're known as owls, wows, sahajias. And he would expose them. They weren't too happy about that. And then there was, what was his name? Vishikshena? He was posing as God, right? Posing as Balaram. I didn't know that. You sure? Anyway, he was posing as Vishnu Tattva. But what was his plan? To get other men's wives and take them in the back room? Something like that. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur came to expose him, and he had mystic power. By his mystic power, everyone in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family was deathly sick. And his wife told him and said, just don't go against him. No, I thought said he was Mahavishnu, no? Anyways, something like that. Bhaktivinoda said, I don't care. And he opposed him. Even he was weak physically, because this person had mystic power. And they won the case and he was put to jail. And someone, I believe it was in jail, came and grabbed him and cut all his hair, and he lost his mystic power and he just fell to the ground. And then shortly after he committed suicide in jail, drank poison or something. Didn't he?
English doctor.
English doctor came, cut his hair, shaved him up, and all his mystic power was in his hair. And he fell down right there, right? And then he killed himself. So the point was that this person had power, and enough power that he could cause his family to be seriously ill. And he just continued, he didn't care. Because he was, he could not tolerate that this was going on. Everyone listening to this recording is thinking, what is that sound? You want me to tell you? Maybe I'll torture you and tell you. I won't tell you what it is. That is an electric metal screen over a patio window. Right? Something like that. Yes?
I'm thinking of two things. There's a quote, I don't remember where it's from, where it says that when I see men of other faiths pray to God, I mean in a mosque, in a church, they're actually praying, I can see them praying to my God.
Right.
God is one.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that he wrote the Srila Vidya.
That's your favorite prayer? I would have never thought of presenting that in the class as one of his great contributions.
We have daily association.
Oh, that's true, yeah, we associate, that's the point, okay, I get it. We associate daily with him, Bhakti Thakur, by chanting that prayer. That's a good point. I never thought of that. Jai Radha Madhava, and
so many songs of poetry.
Yeah, so many songs in common language, and so many songs about very high things in Krishna consciousness and very basic things. And a lot about surrender, and a lot of self-reflection songs. I'm lower than this, I've sinned, remorse, songs of remorse, songs about self, being honest with oneself, admitting one's faults. Maybe more than any Acharya, he was. That song Gopinath is just an admission of one's fault, his own faults. Any of you have any faults? Would you like to write a song and list them? Would that make you happy? Now some people say these acharyas wrote songs taking the part of an ordinary person, but the question was asked to Prabhupada and he said, no, they feel like that. I mean, you could say that that other side is there, but the main thing is they actually feel like that. What they're expressing is what they feel. They feel fallen. Because that's in a very elevated stage of bhakti, you feel that fallen. If you're not very elevated, you won't walk around saying, I'm really happy when people suffer. But somehow on this higher stage, you connect with that side of yourself. And you realize it's there. There's something about being elevated that you realize you're not elevated. Something about not being elevated that you think you're very elevated. It's an interesting phenomenon. But Prabhupada did say that. He said, no, they feel like that. They're not just saying it for us, they feel that way. That's their poems, those are their songs, that's what's in their heart. I have to see if there's anyone out in Krishna.com land that has a question. But anyway, we can continue comments or questions. What's that?
Sometimes also they get the highest realization of emotions than Krishna. So how do you combine?
So, Breha, I'm back, don't worry. Varshabhanu was asking, they express these high realizations, and what seems to be low realizations, where, you know, I have no good qualities, I'm wicked, when you become that Krishna conscious, you'll understand. It's very difficult to understand. I mean, we can try to understand. But you see like these Krishnadas Kaviraj, the things he says about himself, which are quite interesting, because his name's Krishnadas Kaviraj, and he says, if anybody says my name, they become, what, sinful? Like, if anybody thinks of me, they'll become sinful. He's actually feeling like that. But I think it's only because of the elevated realization of Krishna that they could feel that way. It's hard to understand because, you know, we're going to look at it so much from our perspective. It doesn't make sense. Prabhupada, listen to this. This will blow your mind. You ready to have your minds blown? Do you know where blow your mind came from? Do you know where that statement came from? That's what happened to people who took LSD. They blew their minds, and their minds never blew back. They were destroying their minds. There's a lot of hippie words in ISKCON. Freak out, blow your mind, space out. That's all hippie stuff. That's all from what happens when you take drugs. You freak out, you space out, and you blow your mind. So, you know, you come along 20, 30 years later and you're like, oh, I freaked out today. This will blow your mind. I've been spacing out. You have no idea where it came from. Anyway. What did I just say? I'm spacing out. About Prabhupada, yes. So, the devotees were saying Prabhupada something like Prabhupada, we want to go back to Godhead with you. And Prabhupada said, no, I'm not going back to Godhead. I'm not a devotee. You're going back to Godhead. You're a devotee. He said, how do you understand that? He wasn't saying that as an example. This is how he feels. I'm not a devotee. I'm not going back to Godhead. You're going back to God. You're a devotee. This is how he's seeing. Not artificial. It's not made up. It's just how he's seeing. How do we understand that? No, I'm going to hell. You're going back to God. There's something like, the conversation was something like about going back to Godhead and the assumption that Prabhupada's going back to Godhead. No, something like, you know, we'll go to hell to preach. And, but anyway, I forget the context, but anyway, that was the point. And Prabhupada was saying, I'm not going, you're going. You're devotees, I'm not devotees. I'm not a devotee, I'm not going. That's how they feel. My understanding is, or at least in my experiences, that the more you advance in something, the less you feel you have it. So there's something about getting love of God that you hit that point, you feel you don't have it. You hit a point, you just feel, I don't have it. Even Lord Chaitanya, you know, when Lord Chaitanya is saying, I'm living, I should have killed myself. I'm feeding my body, I'm maintaining it, and I have no love for Krishna, and I'm maintaining my body. Isn't that sinful? I'm maintaining my existence in this world with no love for Krishna. That's sinful. Do you think like that ever? So there's something about love of Krishna that brings on that emotion. The feeling I don't have it. It's kind of like a separation. Like it like increases the love. I don't have it, I want it. Maybe it's just transcendentally inspired by Krishna to increase the rasa, increase the desire. We hear the Bhakti Siddhanta addressed all his devotees, Dasosmi, I'm your servant. Never thought he was superior. Kishore Das Babaji didn't think he was qualified to initiate. And we're these little neophytes and we get so proud. Hey, I led a nice kirtan, I'm pretty cool. You know, that's where we come from, right? We do something, Krishna empowers us, he gives us the ability, and we want to identify with him. Hey, look what I did, right? It's totally Krishna's mercy that we could do it, and we want to identify with him. There's a whole series of conversations like that with Prabhupada where he's showing his humility. It's mind-boggling, the things he says. What did Prabhupada say? He said, I have no hope for going back to Godhead in the coming lifetimes. You know that speech Prabhupada gave? Vyasa Puja to his guru. I have no hope for going back to Godhead in the coming lifetimes. I just want to be a servant of my guru. That's how the advanced devotee thinks. Right? And that's how we know we're making advancement, when we think we're not. Of course, the natural question is, how will I know if I'm making advancement if when I make advancement I'm supposed to think I'm not making advancement? How will I monitor it? So there has to be some objectivity to know what advancement is and what it isn't, and not be artificially humble. So you can have an idea. If or not, you're advancing properly, but there's another side where as you advance, you will not think you're advancing. Did I tell the story to you about the disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta who said, we've been chanting 20 years and we're not making advancement? Did I ever tell you that story? You know what he said? What do you think he said? Guru Maharaj, we've been chanting for 20 years, we're not making any advancement. What do you think he said?
Now I know you did.
What?
Now I know you did.
Now I know you're
advanced.
Yeah. He said, very good. Guru Maharaj, we haven't made any advancement in 20 years. Very good. Guru Maharaj, why? Why did you say that? He said, because if you came to me and said, we've been chanting for 20 years and we're making a lot of advancement, I would be concerned that you're becoming proud. But the fact that you said you're not making any advancement shows me that you're becoming humble. And that's why I said very good. So we got the answer right. Let's give him a big hand. See, being in the military pays off, after all. You get a realization. Yes.
In other Acharya are not at the same time in the spiritual world and in the material world?
Are they Acharyas? Do they have forms?
The Prabhupada,
In the material and spiritual?
at the same time.
While Prabhupada's here, he has a form. Some might, if they're Vishnu Tattva, yes, or some, but I don't think Prabhupada, no, there, because at least we know, yeah, okay, yeah, they do, because they have Manjari forms. Yeah, so that's true, yes. Not all have Manjari forms, but they do have their forms, yes. Actually, one devotee had a dream that Bhakti Siddhanta was a specific manjari. Had a dream. Can you imagine what kind of devotee that is? And he asked Bhakti Siddhanta, is that true? And Bhakti Siddhanta said yes. But Prabhupada didn't go there. He didn't entertain that at all, who he was. You couldn't ask. I mean, you could, but I wouldn't if I were you. It's the wrong question to ask. So, you were going to say something?
Is Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Vinod, Thakur, in their form, in this, is it also
In their form in this world?
Yeah, but in other places when they preaching.
Oh, in other universes?
Yeah, because
Oh.
they are eternal society for
Are they preaching in other universes?
like Rupa Goswami has this eternal form as an Acharya, but
Yeah.
also as
It's quite possible. Some devotees believe that Prabhupada has gone to another universe to preach. And they're praying to take birth in Haight-Ashbury, in the Lower East Side of New York, so they can be the first devotees to be with Prabhupada. You know, the thing is, and sometimes devotees would ask Prabhupada questions about the universe. And Prabhupada would say, you can't, and he might give an answer that seems difficult to accept, or he might just say, you can't understand, you have a tiny perspective. So these things may sound somewhat far out, but our experience is very minimal, we have small, we're looking at the universe from a very small, tiny perspective, so all these things are possible. We can't say exactly yes. Some devotees believe that that's Prabhupada's mission, that he'll go and do this Leela in other places. Of course, Krishna could send someone else. I mean, every planet is different. Bhakti Sri Swami had a dream, and in the dream, Prabhupada told him that on other planets, Krishna consciousness is spread like this. But on this planet, it's a little more difficult, because on this planet, people like to fight a lot. That was his dream. He said, other planets, they don't fight so much. You heard that dream? Yeah. I don't know if Prabhupada was telling him, or maybe, but that was the essence. He said, it'll happen. He was asking him, will ISKCON succeed? And Prabhupada said, yes, it'll take longer, because people on this planet like to fight a lot. They fight more than other planets. Something like that. Have you noticed that? People like to fight on this planet? Yeah. I was in a country, they loved to fight. It was so boring in that country. There was nothing to do, so fighting was exciting. If they didn't fight, they'd just like die of boredom. That was my analysis. All the politicians are out there yelling and screaming at everybody. And it was like a sporting event. It was exciting, you know. They'd roll into town on their trucks, the big crowds, you know. They'd get on the stage and they'd scream and yell and put all the other parties down. And I'd think, this is the most exciting thing going on in this dull country. This little island in the middle of nowhere. Fighting's exciting, right? Get all fired up. So, it's time to end. We got the pranams from the leader. Unless his wife wants to fight him. Okay. Unless you have a burning question to ask or a burning comment to make.
I want to ask if we should think if we are advanced or not.
If we should think we're advanced or think we're not advanced, or
Yeah, if we should the second thing.
be aware that we're making advancement, have some.
The second thing I ask this question.
Keep our mind.
Consider this question, to deal with it,
So the question, should we consider the question, are we advanced?
Yes.
What's the question?
Yes, should we deal with it? Should we think about it? Should we be concerned about it?
Am I advanced? Very good question. I think we should be, but I think it should be looked at in a more objective way. Because there's a dichotomy. So how can, if I think I'm advanced, I'm not advanced, right? But there's some, whoops, I think they're calling me. Let me look, see. Computer's freaking out. Oh, yeah, they're asking questions. That sound in the background. All right, she's asking a similar question. No. Maybe this will answer your question. You said it froze. Oh, it froze up. I have to stop it and start it again. So, this question, I thought about this question when I was preparing my course on humility. Because I always felt that you need to objectively be able to monitor if you're making advancement. You have to know. But then it would seem contradictory. Oh, well, I'm doing this, I'm making advancement. So my conclusion was it just has to be a very detached way. Not that I'm becoming proud, but that I'm noticing, well, like Prabhupada would say, how do you know if you're making advancement? He'd say, well, you're becoming detached. So it'd give you some indication. So like I should know if I'm going somewhere, there's a map there, and I should have some sign that I'm going there. So what's the sign? So it'd give you some sign, like you're becoming detached. I'm getting some attraction for service, taste for Krishna consciousness. There's a mood of service. I like serving the devotees like that. I'm not fault-finding, I'm not envious. These are signs you can look at, and you need to look at them. You need to understand in yourself. Don't you? I think you do. But you need to look at it in a way where you don't become proud of the fact. You say, oh, I'm becoming advanced because I can see the signs of health. But I have to tell them. They think it's over. I have to tell them I'm coming back. Hold on. I think I'm coming back. I'll try to come back. Let's see. So you're making advancement. You objectify it. You objectively see that you're doing it. But you're not proud of it. You're like, you can feel good about it, you can feel proud of the process works. I'm proud of my spiritual master, the mercy, okay, I'm making advancement, it's his mercy. He told me to do this, I'm doing it, it's his mercy. So you kind of see it that way. But if you don't know you're making advancement, you should, like Prabhupada would say, you should know. Prabhupada would sometimes say, you should see that good qualities are developing you. Oh Prabhu, all the good qualities are developing in me. But if you sense in your own heart and life a little bit more detachment than you had in the past from the desire to be honored, the desire to be recognized, then you can just pat yourself on the back and say, I think the process is working, it's good. And then don't become proud of your humility, which of course is a huge paradox. It's a fine line. Because, you know how Prabhupada says the pauper becomes proud of his penny. You'll find that it's so easy to become proud, isn't it? It's easy to become proud. You don't need much to be proud of. Now, there's another question here, which probably some of you are thinking. And this devotee named Roma, all the way from England, is asking, can being too humble destabilize our confidence to advance? Would that not be low self-esteem? Because you may be humble in the sense that you're confident you won't advance on your own accord, technically speaking, but you have full confidence that even though you're fallen, you have faith in Krishna's mercy. Can you be too humble? Yeah, you can be. She's asking, can you be too humble? You can be too humble. In other words, you're acting more humble than you are. That's too humble. Right, both of them. I'm the most fallen. Don't touch me. Yeah, so you're acting too humble. Now, Burijan Prabhu said that low self-esteem is not humility. He said it's just selfishness, because you're thinking about yourself. I'm so this, I'm so that. You're absorbed in yourself. But humility it's a dependence on Krishna. Krishna, I'm fallen, I'm low. Humility connects you to Krishna, and low self-esteem connects you to your selfishness. So they're quite different. And like she says here, in humility you can become more confident of Krishna's mercy. You're more dependent. I mean, that's one of the definitions of humility. You're more dependent on Krishna. You see, in India, if someone's successful, you'll say, "Oh, you're successful," and they'll go, "Bhagavan." That's how they'll respond. They'll go, "Bhagavan." In America, you say you're successful, and you go, "Yeah, this is what I did. I worked hard, I studied, I tolerated the difficulties, and I'm successful." That's the difference. So you can be successful as long as you say, "Bhagavan." Then you can remain humble, because you realize where the success came. But if you identify with the success, yeah, it's me, that's a problem. In the world of self-help, they teach you to help yourself and uplift yourself. And so there's a fine line between what's your effort and what's Krishna's mercy. And in the world of self-help, they tend to push you towards you doing it, because it's not religiously based, spiritually based. You do it, it's all you. And we know it's not all us. We know it's some of us. We don't sit around and do nothing, but it's Krishna also. Can't do it without Krishna, but you have to do something before Krishna's going to help you. It's not going to help you if you don't do anything. So Krishna helps you, and then you become proud. Look what I did. No. Right? Prabhupada did not like devotees being proud. Just didn't like it. He knew it was destructive to our society and to our own spiritual lives. One time there was an article in BTG, which was a conversation Prabhupada was having, and they said he was speaking to his leaders and he was saying so many things. Then he said something to the effect, "I beg you, please don't become puffed up." So it's very important. Somebody sent me a saying, the first person to apologize is the bravest. The first person to forgive is the strongest. And the first person to forget is the happiest. So it's not easy, right? But there are benefits. And one of the things we teach in our forgiveness workshop is that if you have an issue with somebody, ultimately it's not about your relationship with them, it's about your relationship with Krishna, because your relationship with them will affect your relationship with Krishna. So if you can be humble with them, you can be humble with others and humble with Krishna. So it's nice to see it that way, you know. See, the problem with my unforgiveness is not about the person, it's about me, and that is the wrong attitude to have, and that will affect my relation with Krishna. So that's why Prabhupada wanted us to be humble. Okay. Thank you. If you have anything else, you can talk to me after, but if I don't officially end, then Gunavatar may not forgive me. Hare Krishna.
affect my relation with Krishna.
Yeah.